the impossible love. The sky was dark. Black clouds covered the stars, and strong winds moved across the strange planet. A spaceship crashed into the red mountains, fire rising into the night sky. The ship was broken, pieces spread everywhere. Inside the ship, a human man opened his eyes. His name was James. His body was hurt, blood on his forehead, and one arm was broken. He looked around, confused and in pain. "Where am I?" he whispered. He tried to move but fell down. Everything hurt. He was alone, in a place he did not know. The air was different, but he could breathe. Strange blue plants grew around him, glowing softly in the dark. A strange sound came from nearby, like something breathing. James turned his head. He saw something, tall, silver-skinned, with bright violet eyes. It looked like a woman, but not human. She stepped closer, silent, her eyes watching him like a hunter watches prey. He tried to speak. "Please, help." The alien woman looked at him for a long time. Her face showed no emotion. Then she did something unexpected. She walked over, knelt beside him, and placed her hand gently on his chest. Her hand glowed for a moment. James felt warm inside. The pain in his body began to fade. His arm stopped hurting. James stared at her. "You healed me?" She did not answer. Instead, she touched a small device near her ear and spoke in a soft, musical language. Then she picked him up easily, like he weighed nothing. He lost consciousness. When James woke again, he was in a cave. A small fire burned near him, and his wounds were covered with silver cloth. The alien woman was sitting nearby, watching him. She looked calm but distant. He sat up slowly. "Who are you?" She waited, then said quietly, "My name is Kira." Her voice was deep, smooth, and had a strange accent. James tried to smile. "I'm James. Thank you for saving me." "You should not be here," she replied. "This place is dangerous, for you, and for me." James looked confused. "Why?" Kira stood and turned away. "Because my people don't like humans. We think you are weak. We think love is a weakness, and we are not allowed to be near your kind." James was silent. He didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing. She had saved his life. That meant something. "Then why did you save me?" he asked. Kira didn't answer right away. She walked to the cave entrance and looked out at the stars. "I don't know," she said finally. Something inside me said, "You were different. Over." The next few days, Kira brought him food, strange fruits and water. She didn't talk much, but slowly they began to understand each other. James told her about Earth, about his mission. Kira listened quietly. She spoke of her world, her people, the Yalari. Proud, powerful, and cold. "We don't feel love like you do," she said one night. "We live long lives." But we stopped. Having children long ago, it's a curse we gave ourselves. "A curse?" James asked. Kira nodded. "Our leaders said emotions were dangerous, so we changed ourselves. No more births, no more families, just order and control." James was shocked. "So, your people can't have children?" "No," she said softly. "And we were told it's impossible now." There was silence between them. The firelight danced across the walls. James looked at Kira and felt something strange. Not fear, not curiosity. Something warmer. And he thought she felt it too. But deep in the shadows, someone was watching. A figure moved silently through the trees outside the cave. He had silver skin like Kira. His eyes were cold. His name was Varen, a warrior of the Yalari, and once he had loved Kira. Now he wanted revenge. He touched his communicator and whispered, "I found her. She's protecting a human, He smiled darkly. The council will want to see this. Back in the cave, James and Kira sat close to the fire. I never thought I'd meet someone like you, James said. Kira looked at him. Her eyes, once hard and cold, now seemed softer. Me neither, she whispered. But a storm was coming, and soon their impossible love would be tested. A forbidden bond, a cold wind moved through the alien forest. Blue leaves rustled, and strange glowing insects floated in the air. Somewhere deep beneath the surface in a hidden cave, James sat beside the fire. But he wasn't warm. His thoughts were heavy. Every moment with Kira made him feel something new, something he hadn't felt in years. Trust, safety, a strange kind of connection. But he also knew something else. They were not safe here. Kira returned with fruit in her hands. Her eyes scanned the cave before she sat beside him. "You look worried," she said softly. James looked at her, his voice low. "Do your people kill outsiders?" She looked away. "Yes, if they see you, they will destroy you. And me too. For helping you." James was silent. The truth was hard, but he needed to hear it. Still, the way she said it, calm, serious, but not afraid, made him feel she was used to danger. Kira was not just another alien. She was hiding something deeper. That night, Kira took James deeper into the underground tunnels. She moved quickly through the shadows, as if she knew the place well. The walls were marked with symbols, glowing softly in red and gold. James whispered, "Where are we going?" "To the old place," she replied, "where the truth sleeps." After walking for an hour, they reached a massive stone door. Kira touched her hand to a panel on the wall, and the door opened with a soft hum. Inside was something that didn't belong to this planet. Machines, screens, floating lights, and in the center, a tall tube filled with green liquid. Inside, a body. James stepped closer. It looked like a Yalari child. "But I thought your kind couldn't have children," he asked, confused. Kira stood still. "We can't. Not anymore. This child was made in secret, many, many years ago, before I was born." James turned to her, shocked. "Someone tried to bring life back, and they were punished," she continued. "They said it was dangerous. They called it emotional infection. But my mother, she believed love was not a weakness." James felt something heavy drop in his chest. "Your mother made this child?" Kira nodded. "She died for it." The truth hit him hard. Kira wasn't just someone helping a stranger. She was part of something much bigger, a rebellion against her own kind. And now he was part of it too. Later, as they rested near the machines, Kira looked at James with a different kind of gaze. Soft, thoughtful. "I don't understand," she said. "Why do you humans feel so much? Why do you choose pain, love, fear, when you could just not feel?" James looked at her, choosing his words slowly. "Because feeling pain also means feeling joy. Loving someone means you're not alone. We don't live forever, so every feeling matters." Kira looked at her hands. "I was taught that love breaks you." James gently placed his hand over hers. "No, love makes you fight harder." A moment passed. No words were spoken. But the space between them changed. High above, in the City of Light, Varen stood before the Yalari High Council. She is hiding him, a human male. "They're together in the Forbidden Zone," Varen said, his voice full of bitterness. The council, tall and silent, spoke only once. "Bring them both. Alive if possible. But if not, erase them," Varen bowed. Inside, he was pleased. Back in the cave, Kira felt something. She stood up fast, eyes glowing faintly. "They're close," she whispered. We need to move. James followed her without question. They climbed through a dark tunnel, but it was already too late. A loud explosion broke the silence. The cave behind them collapsed. Dust and smoke filled the air. Kira pulled James forward, running through the darkness. We must reach the old city. They won't follow us there. Why? James shouted, coughing. Because even they are afraid of what's buried there. Ours. Later, exhausted and covered in ash, they reached the edge of a ruined alien city. Giant towers leaned against each other, broken and forgotten. Strange lights flickered from underground. James looked around. What is this place? Kira looked. Up at the ruins. This is where our kind was born, and where our greatest mistake began. James saw fear in her eyes for the first time. He asked quietly, "What mistake?" Kira didn't answer. She just whispered, "You'll see." Far behind them, Varen looked at the destroyed tunnel. He smiled. "Run all you want," he said softly. "You can't run from the truth." The betrayal. The wind howled through the broken towers of the ruined alien city. The ground was cracked, and strange machines stood frozen in time. Glowing blue roots crept through the stone like veins, pulsing slowly with life. James and Kira stood at the edge of a broken platform, staring at the dead city. "This place," James whispered. "It feels heavy." Kira nodded. "Because it remembers." She stepped forward, her boots echoing on the metal floor. James followed, keeping close. He could feel something watching them, something old and forgotten. "What happened here?" he asked. Kira paused. This was the first city of the Yalari, the beginning of everything. But when they feared love, feared weakness, they destroyed this place to erase their past. She led him to a tall stone statue, a female Yalari holding a baby in her arms. The face was chipped and faded, but the meaning was clear. James stared at it. "Your people had families once." "Yes," Kira said softly. "But they chose power over love. And then they punished those who remembered." As they moved deeper into the ruins, they found a sealed chamber. Kira opened it using her blood. She cut her hand and pressed it to a panel. The door slid open with a deep hiss. Inside was a laboratory, old but still active. Machines blinked, soft hums filled the air. Holograms flickered to life, images of Yalari children, families, and genetic research. "This is where my mother worked," Kira said, her voice tight. She believed the human DNA could fix the curse. She believed in hope. James looked at her. "And you?" "I believe in you," she said quietly. Their eyes met. In that moment, everything was silent, but far away. Danger was coming. Varen moved through the shadows with 2 elite soldiers behind him. He was fast, angry, and focused. His armor glowed dark blue, his weapon charged. "She betrayed her blood," he growled. "And now she will pay." He remembered how Kira once smiled at him, how she once stood beside him in battle. Now she was hiding with a human, a weak, useless, soft-hearted creature. Varen's pride burned, and his mission was clear. Back in the lab, James and Kira studied the data her mother left behind. It spoke of an ancient experiment, a hybrid project between humans and Yalari, something never approved by the Council. "The child was real," James said, "and it survived for a time." Kira nodded. "But the Council erased it. My mother died trying to protect it." James looked at her. "Why didn't they want children to return?" Kira looked at the screen, her voice bitter. "Because children bring emotion, love, fear, dreams, and the Council wants perfect control." James clenched his fists. "Then maybe it's time someone broke that control." They worked together, activating a hidden console. A map appeared, showing a buried chamber under the city. Kira's eyes widened. That chamber, it holds the last chance to reverse the curse. Before they could move, a sharp sound echoed through the city. Boom! A pulse blast, followed by shouting. They were not alone anymore. Kira grabbed James's hand. Run! They sprinted through the old corridors as laser fire lit up the dark. Pieces of the wall exploded behind them. A voice shouted through a speaker. Kira! You shame your blood! Surrender the human and die with honor! It was Varen. James. And Kira dove behind a fallen pillar. James looked at her, breathing hard. What now? We fight, she said, eyes glowing. Kira stood, raised her hand, and summoned an old alien weapon from the wall. It locked onto her palm, shifting like liquid metal. She turned and fired. The energy blast slammed into the enemy, knocking them back. Varen stepped forward through the smoke, untouched. You chose him? Varen said coldly. A weak, dying species? Kira raised her weapon. I chose life. Varen's eyes narrowed. Then you will die with him. They clashed, weapons glowing, power shaking the walls. James grabbed a backup blaster and tried to fight too, but he was no match for Yalari's strength. Varen threw him aside like a toy. Kira screamed, slamming Varen into a wall, but he recovered quickly. You forgot your place, Kira. And then it happened. Varen stabbed Kira. The blade slid through her side, glowing with energy. She dropped to the ground. No! James shouted, running to her side. Blood, silver and glowing, spilled from her wound. Kira's breathing slowed. Varen pointed his weapon at James. It ends here, he said. But Kira, half conscious, raised her hand. With the last of her strength, she activated the chamber below them. The floor shook. Light burst through the cracks. A beam of energy shot up from the ground and struck the sky. Everything went white. When the light faded, Varen was gone. The city was quiet. James held Kira close, her eyes barely opened. You saved me, he whispered. No, she said weakly. You saved me, from a life without feeling. He held her hand tight. Stay with me, please. She smiled faintly. We're not done yet. There's more. She touched her stomach, and for a moment, it glowed. James froze. Kira. A tear ran down her cheek. I didn't think it was possible, but you changed everything. The escape. The old city was shaking. Machines that had slept for thousands of years were waking up. Lights flashed. Red. Ancient voices whispered from the walls in a forgotten language. Something powerful had been triggered. Something not meant to be disturbed. James held Kira in his arms as dust and sparks fell from the ceiling. She was bleeding, her silver, blood running down her side, but her eyes were open. You said, there's more, James whispered. Kira nodded weakly. She placed her hand over her stomach. The child, it lives. James froze. It didn't feel real. A life growing inside her, something their world said was impossible, but it was happening. Somehow, between human and Yalari, a miracle had begun. But miracles don't come without danger. Far above them, high in the sky, a Yalari warship arrived. It hovered like a giant shadow over the ruined city. Its light scanned the ground. It was looking for them. Varen had failed. Now the council was coming themselves. Back in the chamber, Kira tried to stand. She was hurt, but strong. We can't. Stay, she said. The city is alive now. The machines will defend the past, and the council will destroy everything. James helped her up, his hand still shaking. Where do we go? Kira tapped into the machine's map system. A hidden tunnel lit up. It led far below the city, through lava chambers and broken routes, toward the forgotten edge of the planet. "There's a launch station deep underground," she said. "My mother once told me. It was built to send survivors off-world." "Before the purge," James nodded. "Then we run." They entered the tunnel, just as a huge explosion shook the chamber behind them. Giant metal arms reached out from the walls, trying to seal the city again, to protect its secrets. The past was angry. As they ran through the narrow passage, Kyra grew weaker. Her body was reacting strangely. Her blood and cells were changing. The human part of the baby was affecting her, rewiring her DNA. "Are you okay?" James asked again and again. "I don't know," she replied. "But I can feel it. Something new, growing, something pure." James was scared. He didn't know how to help. But he knew one thing. He would not let her die. Behind them, elite Yalari soldiers dropped into the ruins. They wore black armor and moved like shadows. They were not like Varen. They did not talk. They did not feel. They only obeyed. Their leader, Councillor Velia, watched the energy signatures on her screen. "She activated the old system," she said coldly. "She's near the hybrid chamber. Terminate both." One soldier asked, "And the child?" Velia narrowed her eyes. "Burn it." James and Kira reached a metal bridge above a river of fire. The heat was unbearable, and the platform shook with every step. Lava burst from cracks below. Machines screamed around them. Suddenly, gunfire hit the walls. The soldiers had found them. Kira grabbed James and pulled him across the bridge. She raised her weapon and fired back, hitting one soldier who fell into the flames. James turned and shot another, his aim shaking, but true. But then a blast hit the bridge. It collapsed beneath. They fell. They crashed into a pool of glowing liquid. Not lava, not water. It was something ancient, something alive. It wrapped around them, glowing brighter near Kira. James pulled her out of it, coughing and choking. Kira looked stunned. "This liquid, it's healing me." Her wound was closing, slowly, but surely. The ancient fluid had recognized the child inside her, and it had chosen to protect them. The legends were true. There was power in life, in love. And now that power was theirs. They reached the launch station. It was covered in roots and broken screens, but a single pod remained. A small spacecraft, old but still working. Kira moved toward the console, activating it. The system responded. To her blood, another gift from her mother's rebellion. The door opened. They were almost free, but they weren't alone. Councillor Velia appeared on the platform, her armor shining, her eyes cold. She raised her weapon. "You brought shame to our race, Kira, and now you bring danger." Kira stepped in front of James, weapon ready. "This child is our future." Velia shook her head. "This child is your punishment." She fired. Kira was fast. She returned fire, hitting Velia in the shoulder. James jumped into the pod, pulling Kira in after him. "Go!" Kira shouted. The pod launched. A burst of light exploded behind them as the old city fell deeper into fire. They flew through the planet's sky, heading toward a hidden moon where Kira believed safety could be found. But nothing was certain. Inside the pod, Kira placed James's hand on her stomach, a small pulse, a heartbeat. "It's alive," she whispered. James looked into her eyes. "So are we." Far behind them, the council watched the escape from their ship. Velia, injured but alive, spoke one word, "Hunt," the truth about the curse. The escape pod floated silently above the strange planet. Below them, fire and ash covered the ruins of the ancient city. Smoke rose into space, hiding the stars. But ahead, glowing gently in the distance, was a moon. Kira lay against the seat, her skin pale, her breathing calm but weak. James sat beside her, holding her hand. Her body was changing. The child growing inside her wasn't just a miracle. It was unlocking something ancient inside her. Blood. James stared out the window. We need answers. We need help. Kira's eyes opened slowly. We're going to find both, on that moon. The pod landed on the surface of the hidden moon, a forgotten Yalari research colony, long erased from official records. No one had set foot here in centuries. As the door opened, a soft wind moved across the dusty ground. The sky above was violet, and old domes of glass stood cracked and silent. This place is abandoned, James said. Kira shook her head. Not abandoned, buried. They moved through the ruins, entering an underground chamber using old genetic access codes from Kyra's blood. The lights flickered on. Inside was a working archive. Ancient computers, DNA banks, and memory crystals stored in long glass tubes. Kira walked slowly toward the main terminal. This is where it began, she whispered. The cure and the curse. James activated the console. A hologram appeared, a Yalari woman with kind eyes and a soft voice. Welcome, Kira. If you are seeing this, I am gone. Kira gasped. My mother. The hologram continued. They told us we were gods, that we had reached perfection. No death, no fear, no love. But what they really gave us was emptiness. Images flashed. Yalari scientists removing genes related to emotion, birth, family, babies dying in artificial wombs, elders choosing cold logic over care. They feared feelings, the message continued. So they erased them from our blood. Our wombs stopped working. We lost the ability to create life, and we called it evolution. James stared at the images, shocked. They did this to themselves, on purpose. Kira looked broken. We destroyed our future, just to control the present. But the message wasn't done. There is a way back, her mother said. But only through a true bond, not just science. A Yalari must connect with a species that still knows love. Only then can life return. James felt his heart pounding. Kira's voice shook. That's us. He turned to her. You and me. That's why. The child is alive. Kira nodded. You didn't just save me. You healed what we lost. Suddenly, the screens glitched. An alert appeared. Incoming signal detected. Kira's eyes widened. They found us. Above the moon, a massive shadow entered orbit. The Council's ship. Inside the Council ship, Velia stared at the readings. She accessed the forbidden archive, she said coldly. Erase the entire moon. No one can know the truth. The ship's weapon systems charged, red light glowing from its core. Back below, the ground started shaking. Alarms rang through the facility. James grabbed Kira's hand. We need to leave now. But Kira stared at the console. No, we need to send the truth. To every planet, every system. They must see what the Council did. James hesitated. We don't have time. I'll stay, Kira said. You get to the ship. Protect the child. James refused. No, I'm not leaving without you. They stared at each other, the moment heavy with fear and love. And then, Kira smiled. Then we send it together. They uploaded the data to a beacon, hidden deep in the archive. The truth of the Yalari curse, the lies, the deaths, the child. They hit send. A pulse of light shot into the sky. Velia saw it from her ship. Her face twisted with rage. Too late, she whispered. She ordered the attack anyway. Missiles fell toward the moon. James and Kira ran toward the backup escape craft. Explosions tore through the ground behind them. The roof collapsed. Fire roared. Walls shattered. A piece of debris struck James's leg. He fell, crying out. Kira turned back and lifted him with all her strength. They reached the ship, barely closing the hatch before fire swallowed the base. The ship launched. As they flew into space, they looked back at the burning moon, but something was different. Other ships were waking up. From across nearby systems, hidden allies, rebels, scientists, old Yalari exiles were receiving the truth, and they were angry. The truth had been buried too long, and now it was free. Inside their small ship, Kira leaned back, breathing heavily. James placed his hand on her stomach. A soft glow pulsed beneath it, stronger than before. Alive, growing, beautiful. Kira looked at James. They will hunt us, harder than ever now. James nodded. Then let them come. The hunt begins. The stars seemed quiet, but space was not. A dozen warships now moved through the dark, fast, silent, and ready to kill. Their mission was simple: find the hybrid, eliminate the threat. Inside one of the Council's lead ships, Counselor Valia stood before a dark screen showing James and Kara's faces. Behind them, a glowing scan of the child. Not fully Yalari, not fully human. A life never meant to exist. A weapon. Born from love, she said, voice filled with contempt. Activate every hunter. They can run, but they won't get far. Far away, on a quiet moon near the edge of known space, James and Kyra hid inside a deep ice cave. The escape ship was parked under layers of frozen rock, shielded from scanners. Inside the cave, Kira sat in silence. Her body had changed again. Her skin now shimmered faintly, glowing with warmth. Her senses were sharper. Her thoughts moved faster. The baby inside her was growing, not in months, but in days. James knelt beside her. How do you feel? Kira touched her stomach, where soft light pulsed beneath her hand. Strong, different, but scared. James wrapped his arm around her shoulders. You're not alone. Suddenly, a quiet beep echoed from the ships. Control panel. A signal. James ran to it and saw a message blinking in red. They found your location. Kira stood. We need to move. Before they could pack, the cave shook. A powerful explosion blew through the outer wall. The ceiling cracked. Rocks fell. And through the smoke, the hunters arrived. Tall, black-armored warriors stepped forward, faster and more deadly than the soldiers before. Their eyes glowed blue. Their weapons hummed with energy. They didn't speak. They were built to kill. Kira grabbed James and sprinted toward the ship. A blast hit the ice beside them, sending sharp shards flying. James covered Kira's body as they fell. Her blood glowed brighter, protecting them with a strange energy field. She had powers. Now, inside the ship, they took off fast, fire chasing their engines. They broke through the moon's surface and entered space. But 3 hunter ships followed, locking on. Kira jumped into the pilot seat. I'll fly. You sure? James asked, strapping in. Yes. I remember everything now. Her fingers danced across the controls like she had flown this ship, her whole life. But the hunters were fast. Lasers tore through the shields. Warnings blared. James tried to man the rear guns, shooting back, but it wasn't enough. We can't fight them alone, he shouted. Kira narrowed her eyes. We won't. She opened a hidden channel. An old rebel code passed from her mother. It was supposed to be dead. She sent one word. Alive. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a voice answered, Welcome back, Kira. Seconds later, 3 unknown ships dropped out of hyperspace, old human vessels mixed with alien tech. The rebellion was alive after all. The rebel ships attacked the hunters. Precise, brutal, fast. Within minutes, 2 of the hunter ships exploded, but 1 remained. And it was different, bigger, older. James looked at it. "That's not just a hunter." "No," Kira said. "That's the warden." Inside the warden ship, a creature stood at the center, a tall Yalari, but twisted, more machine than flesh. This was Lord Serene, once Kyra's teacher, now a servant of the Council's darkest experiments. His voice was cold and metallic. Target confirmed. Begin capture protocol. Back in space, the warden fired a strange weapon, not to kill, but to pull. A gravity beam locked onto Kira's ship. They couldn't move. The ship shook violently. Systems failed. They were being pulled in. James looked at Kira. "We won't escape." Kira closed her eyes. "Then we break the chain." She reached deep inside her power, a mix of ancient Yalari memory and human emotion. Her hands glowed, and the ship pulsed with light. The baby inside her responded, and then everything exploded. A shockwave burst out from the ship, throwing the warden back. Their ship broke free, but it was damaged. They crash-landed on a desert world, far from known systems. Dust, silence, fire. James pulled Kira from the wreckage. She was breathing hard. The child had protected them, but it had also taken her strength. "We need help," James whispered. And then they saw something. Figures moving toward them. Not enemies. People. An old village. Human and alien. Living together. They had seen the truth transmission from the archive. They had chosen to believe. As the villagers helped James and Kira inside, one old woman touched Kira's stomach. She looked into Kira's eyes. "Your child will change the stars." Meanwhile, in a secret chamber aboard the Council's ship, Velia stared at the data reports. The hybrid pulse. "It rewrote the hunter code," an officer said. Velia turned slowly. "She is not just carrying a child," she whispered. "She's carrying a new beginning." The child of two worlds, the desert winds howled across the dry land. James stood outside a small stone shelter, watching the sky. His hands were shaking. His mind was racing. Inside the shelter, Kyra was in labor. Villagers, humans, aliens, and old rebels had prepared the space. Their faces were full of awe and fear. They had never seen a Yalari carry life, and none of them had ever seen what was coming. James turned to the old healer. "Is she okay?" The healer nodded slowly. "She is strong, but this is not just a birth. It is a beginning." James's heart pounded. Inside, Kira lay on soft blankets, her face pale but determined. Her hands glowed faintly, energy pulsing around her. Her body trembled, not from pain, but from transformation. The child inside her was not normal. It was something new, part human, part Yalari, born from love. Above the planet, the sky broke open. The warden had returned, repaired, reforged, and full of rage. Behind it, dozens of council ships hovered like shadows. Their engines screamed across the clouds. Inside, Councillor Velia gave her final command. "Burn the surface, find the child, end this war before it begins." On the ground, alarms rang. The villagers looked to the sky. Flames began to fall, missiles, bombs. But then, something else. Ships appeared, old Earth warships, rebel cruisers, even Yalari defectors, those who had seen the truth and turned against the Council. The message had spread. All across the stars, beings who once felt powerless now rose to fight. They had seen the child's scan. They had heard Kira's voice. Hope had returned, and it had a heartbeat. James ran back inside. Kira was glowing now, her body surrounded by light. The room shook, the ground trembled. She reached for James, her eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but of joy. "It's time," she whispered. James held her hand. "I'm here. I won't leave." Outside, A battle exploded across the sky. Laser fire lit up the night. Rebel ships fought against hunter drones. The warden moved like a beast of steel, tearing through defense lines. Velia watched from her command chair, furious. "Send ground units. If the child is born, we lose control." In the village, soldiers landed. Black armored hunters rushed through the sand, weapons charged. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They killed anything in their way, but they didn't reach far. Villagers fought back with weapons built from scrap and courage. A young rebel hacked into a hunter's neural net, turning its weapon against its own squad. Old Yalari scientists, once hiding in fear, now stood in the open, chanting in their ancient tongue to reactivate protective shields. The people were no longer afraid. They were fighting for the future, inside the shelter. The light grew stronger. Kira cried out, and then silence, followed by a sound no one had heard in 1,000 years. A baby's cry. Soft, pure, alive. James stared in disbelief. He held the child, a small girl, her skin soft silver, but her eyes human. The child looked at him and blinked. Her body glowed. Kira sat up slowly, her strength returning faster than expected. She touched the baby's forehead, and in that moment, a pulse of light exploded from the shelter, racing across the planet, into the sky, into the ships, into the stars. It touched every living thing, and something changed. In orbit, weapons shut down. Ships paused mid-battle. The warden froze, its systems confused by a signal they couldn't understand. Velia stared at the screens. "What is this?" A message appeared. "You cannot stop life." Her hands trembled. Then, her ship's power died. On the ground, the hunters stopped moving. One by one, they dropped their weapons and stood still. As if something inside them remembered who they used to be, James looked at Kira. "What did she do?" Kira looked at the baby. She connected everything. She awakened them. The child blinked again and smiled. In the days that followed, the council collapsed, its lies exposed, its weapons deactivated. Across the galaxy, Yalari and humans began to speak again, not with fear, but with understanding. Mixed colonies formed. Old wounds started to heal, and legends began to grow of a child born from two dying species who became the first of a new kind, a child who brought peace without lifting a weapon. Years later, James walked through a forest, holding a small girl's hand. She laughed, running ahead to where Kira waited under a glowing tree. The girl looked up. "Mom, Dad, am I really the first?" Kira smiled. "You are the first of many." James knelt beside her. "And the universe will never be the same because of you."